Welcome to the debate. Today, we're diving deep into an economic development that has, well, certainly grabbed headlines across India, the recent Goods and Services Tax, or GST overhaul. Now, this isn't just about tax codes and bureaucratic changes. It's a significant financial shakeup. It could ripple through the economy, affecting everything from, say, how much you pay for a luxury car to the cost of cement, as widely reported by major outlets like the Financial Times, Cardeco, and the Economic Times.
Exactly. And our central question today really boils down to this. Is India's recent GST overhaul a genuinely transformative step towards robust and sustainable economic growth? Or is it perhaps merely a necessary but ultimately insufficient adjustment to what's already a pretty complex system?
Right. And my position today is that these reforms are in fact a significant positive leap for the Indian economy. I think they're driving growth and delivering tangible benefits to consumers and businesses alike.
And I'll be arguing the other side, that while these changes are undoubtedly necessary, maybe even overdue, they just don't go far enough to fundamentally reshape India's economic landscape in the truly transformative way, many people are hoping for.
Okay, well, let me start then. The recent GST overhaul, particularly with those cuts on large luxury cars and SUVs, is, in my view, really a game-changing and transformational reform. And that's not just my optimistic take. It reflects the perspective of prominent figures like Piyush Goyal, as India Today highlighted in a video. It also aligns with how the BJP has characterized these, calling them next-gen historic reforms, which the Economic Times documented. I mean, the very design of these changes, as the Financial Times reported just hours after the announcement, seems clearly intended to boost growth across the nation. And we're already seeing, tangible evidence of immediate positive impact. The auto sector, for instance, has experienced a clear rally, an observation confirmed by India Today's video analysis, that indicates renewed consumer confidence and spending.
Okay, a rally in autos. Fair enough.
Yes, and moreover, the projection by the Economic Times that cement prices could become cheaper by a significant 25 to 30 rupees a bag suggests a direct benefit to the construction industry and, by extension, infrastructure development. Beyond these specific sector impacts, this whole festive GST bonanza is even projected to cool India's inflation by up to 90 basis points, according to the Economic Times. So, look, this isn't just some minor adjustment. It signifies a broad-based positive economic stimulus. It fundamentally streamlines processes for taxpayers, making India a more efficient and hopefully prosperous economy. It feels like a clear departure from just, tweaking things around the edges.
Okay, well, while I readily acknowledge the immediate positive buzz and the undeniable necessity of these GST adjustments, something probably needed to be done. I do approach this from a different angle. I genuinely see them as, like you quoted earlier, a necessary step but not a sufficient step to truly ignite and sustain the nation's economic potential. And this isn't just my isolated opinion. It actually echoes the seasoned viewpoint of former Union Finance Minister P. Chidambaram, who articulated this very sentiment in an interview with India Today TV. So while the rally in the auto sector or a slight drop in cement prices are, welcome developments, my concern is that these might unfortunately represent short-term spurts rather than lasting gains in the broader economic picture. Some analyses in the Economic Times have cautiously suggested this too.
I'm just not entirely convinced that the full benefits will automatically cascade down to all segments of society, particularly when we see figures like Piyush Goyal himself publicly urging that industry must pass on GST gains to buyers, as reported by the Economic Times. To me, that statement kind of indicates a potential disconnect, right? A friction point where the intended benefits might get stuck rather than an assurance of automatic consumer advantage. Furthermore, the political uproar, like the Congress Kerala unit's Bidi Bihar remark, which, essentially criticized the government for potentially burdening common goods while easing taxes on luxury items and stirred significant controversy, as India Today reported, it hints at deeper underlying complexities and criticisms. These go beyond simple economic metrics and suggest that these reforms are, far from being universally perceived as fundamentally transformative. And even beyond politics, Mint reported that the outlook for popular services like Swiggy and Zomato remains strong despite an 18% GST. That points to a continued substantial tax burden on some key service sectors. This selective application certainly challenges the idea of a widespread, fundamental transformation benefiting the entire economy equally.
Well, the characterization of these reforms as merely incremental adjustments, I think fundamentally undervalues their sweeping and comprehensive nature. Look, the GST Council hasn't just tinkered with rates. It has cleared substantial process reforms for taxpayers, a significant development highlighted by the Economic Times. These aren't minor tweaks. They are foundational changes designed to streamline compliance and foster a significantly more business-friendly environment across the entire nation. We're talking about a systemic overhaul, basically, that eases the operational burden on businesses by simplifying complex procedures. For example, specific changes include things like more user-friendly input tax credit claims, automated invoice matching, and a rationalization of filing frequencies for various businesses. These improvements free up invaluable capital and energy for actual productive growth and innovation, rather than businesses just, grappling with convoluted tax procedures. This broader vision of next-gen reforms, reflecting a Swasth Bharat, or an economically robust and fiscally healthy India, as seen in Google News reports, unequivocally signals a deeper strategic intent. This isn't about superficial changes. It's about building a truly modern and resilient economic structure, enhancing India's ease of doing business ranking, and thereby attracting more foreign direct investment. These are all hallmarks of deep structural transformation, not just incrementalism.
I see that, and the simplification of processes is undeniably a welcome development. I absolutely appreciate its potential to reduce friction for businesses. But my central question remains, do these changes truly address the core structural issues that underpin India's economic challenges? Or are we, in effect, merely optimizing an engine that still needs a complete overhaul? You mentioned former Finance Minister Chidambaram. His concern about the insufficiency of these measures suggests that while the internal mechanics of the tax system might be smoother, the overall economic output could remain limited if fundamental demand-side and supply-side issues aren't tackled more aggressively. I mean, consider the informal sector, right? It still constitutes a vast portion of India's economy. How deeply do these specific process reforms impact their daily operations or even encourage their formalization? The aspiration of a Swasth Bharat is commendable, of course. We all hope for an economically vibrant nation, but real transformation requires more than just process improvements. It demands a significant, broad-based economic stimulus that actively addresses issues like income inequality, provides targeted support for rural demand, or invests heavily in skill development and infrastructure that reaches all layers of the economy, not just those sectors or businesses where taxes have been reduced or compliance made easier for, the established players. Without tackling these underlying, pervasive economic challenges, these process improvements, while positive, may not be enough to ignite the kind of truly transformative and inclusive growth that India needs for a Swasth Bharat in its fullest sense.
Okay, but the economic impact of these reforms, I would strongly argue, is clearly substantial and far from temporary. The forecasted cooling of inflation by up to 90 basis points due to this festive GST bonanza, as detailed in the Economic Times, translates into real, tangible savings for ordinary consumers. Now, this isn't a fleeting benefit. It directly improves purchasing power across households. It enables them to spend more or save more, which has a ripple effect through the economy. Furthermore, the decision to make large SUVs and luxury cars more affordable, as reported by Cardico, alongside that notable rally in the auto sector, which an India Today video explicitly points to, this demonstrates a targeted, yet highly effective approach. It stimulates consumer spending